everyone. Today I'm talking with Daniel. He's a sports writer for French-based news agency AFP, and Daniel is an expert on all things Formula
Not all
One.
things, not all things.
On all things Formula One, golf, and French football, which is handy as this evening we're going to be talking about the upcoming World Cup. So welcome, Daniel.
Welcome.
Thanks
Hello. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah. Before we start, I have seen that you wrote a book, Le Bleu de sa Majesté.
Yes, that's good. And there was an English version. Called The French Revolution, 10 years of English football after Cantona.
Oh, okay.
I was mad about football. I will send you the book because you didn't like it. It was a long time ago. It was ages ago.
Okay.
But I really enjoyed doing it because at that time, it was the beginning of the French era in Premier League. And it was an amazing time.
Yeah, okay. And so the book came out in English as well?
Yeah, we did the French version, and then we did an English version with the Scottish publisher, Mainstream Publishing. I don't know if they still exist. And basically, we translated part of the French version, and we added some extra interviews that we couldn't do for the first French version. And so it was a much better book, actually.
And did you get to interview Cantona or any of the other French players?
I never managed to get Cantona, but I got all the other ones. I got Desailly, I got Dacour, I got Anelka, I got all the great guys of that time. We did that in 2001, 2002, around that time.
Okay.
So time flies, really.
Okay. So let's just have a chat about the World Cup then. I guess the easiest question, most obvious question, how do you think France will do this year?
There are a few factors that we have to take into account. The first one is that Didier Deschamps is a very lucky guy. He's always been very lucky in his life as a player, as a coach. Remember, he went to the semifinals of the Champions League with a team in Monaco that was just average, and where he managed to work miracles. He has done wonders in Italy at Juventus. He's done lots of very good things, but he's always been very lucky. So we hope his luck goes on, because if we look at what the people say in France, if we look at the press, if we look at what the forums say on the social networks, not everybody is that confident. The difference with previous editions of Euro or World Cup is that there are not so many critics. I mean, it's pretty flat and quiet. I mean, we used to have situations where the press and the fans were against the French team before the competition, and then became absolute supporters after that. But this time it's different. It's very quiet, and I think we don't really know what to expect. Because it's going to be very tough.
Do you think that's because of the Euros that maybe you could see that possibly that's the limit of the French team? They're good, just can't get to the next level. Maybe they can't. I mean, they're not going to win anything.
No, it's just that the team doesn't look so powerful as it used to be before. I mean, the qualification process was very long. It was very hard. It was very strenuous. We have a guy like Pogba, who is a great player, but he's not always a good player. I mean, sometimes he's completely out of it. And it's completely unpredictable. I mean, he said yesterday or the day before that he was going to be the leader of that team on the field and in the cloakroom, and we have no idea what to expect from him, because I was it was a friendly game against Colombia at Stade de France a few months ago, and it was pathetic. I mean, Pogba was just all over the place, and he couldn't pass the ball properly. So it was probably on an off day. But imagine he has an off day in the quarterfinal, we're in trouble. So luckily we have lots of very, very good players, but they never gel together until now. I mean, we hope the World Cup will be the occasion for them to find something together. But up till now, it's been very ups and downs and very I mean, nothing very consistent over the past 2 years.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a typical French team, isn't it?
No, I'm not sure, because let's say, look, we used to have a playmaker. I mean, in the old times. Now the only playmaker we could have, Dimitri Payet, is off because he's injured.
Okay.
And if the competition is really tough, and if you really need to play to win the games, as it's the case in the Champions League this year or the year before, you need a playmaker, you need a balanced team, and I'm not sure our team is that balanced. We have Mbappe at front, we have lots of very good midfielders, but I'm not sure about the general balance of the team.
Okay, I didn't know Payet was injured, so he's out of the World Cup.
He's out. Yeah, he injured himself during the final of the Europa League against Atletico Madrid.
Okay.
And he was a very crucial asset for France at Euro 2016. So it's a very big blow to France, because we have lots of strikers, we have lots of midfielders. The defenders are, not so great, and even at the back. I mean, Lloris didn't have a wonderful season at Tottenham. He took some really silly goals. Mandanda was injured. Areola had ups and downs as well at Paris Saint-Germain. So we don't really know what to expect from the back. What we know is that Didier Deschamps used to be a defensive midfielder, and he's always liked teams that are very solid at the back, and he's not very much into taking chances and playing full attacking football. So it might be a bit disappointing at the beginning of the World Cup, and then if it works out fine, they might find some sort of rhythm, but we'll see. I mean, we need to wait.
So speaking about Pogba, do you think it was a wise decision for such a temperamental player to make him captain?
I don't think it's a good idea. I'd rather have N'Golo Kante, or a guy who was impressive on the field all the time as a captain. I don't think Pogba can be a skipper for that team. He's been very, very inconsistent over the past few months, and I don't know. I don't think he can be a leader, because these guys are strange blokes, and you never know what to expect from them. Maybe some of them are jealous. You never know. So we'll see. I'd rather have a quieter guy like Kante or N'Golo Kante or Matuidi as a skipper. It would make more sense, I believe.
And how does he get on in the team? Would there be are there any clashes of personality? Is he? I
don't really know. What I know is that when he's in the team, some other very good midfielders are out of it. So we had a controversy this week, which was very interesting, and it dates back to yesterday and today. You probably heard of it. Adrien Rabiot, the midfielder for Paris Saint-Germain, who is called the Duke. His nickname is the Duke, and he has long hair and he's a tall guy. And he wrote an email to Didier Deschamps yesterday to say, I don't want to be one of the reserve players, so I'm not going to prepare for getting into the squad if someone is injured. So basically, he just said, I'm not for it. I'm not in for it. Although he's a reserve player, so it could be included in the team anytime before June the 4th if there's an injury. But he just committed harakiri and sent a stupid email to Deschamps saying, I'm not going to prepare in case I'm back in the squad. Amazing.
That's the fighting spirit, eh?
Exactly, fighting spirit.
So,
yeah.
So what do you think of France's group? I mean, it's manageable. I mean, Denmark might be tough enough, but Australia and Peru...
it should be okay, especially that Peru is without Guerrero for the reasons that we know. You know that story.
Yeah, I mean,
it's an amazing story. Really.
It's a bit unfair. It's a bit unfair, a little unfair, I think.
Yeah, it's unfair, but then the guy gets a suspension that ends beginning of May. because it's been reduced, so he's allowed to go to the World Cup. But then he appeals and says, "I want the sanction to be completely nullified, whatever. I don't know how you say in English." And then he gets 14 months, so he's out of the World Cup.
I didn't know he appealed it. I didn't know he appealed.
That's why it was so stupid, you know. Oh. He appealed, and then everybody got upset because he appealed, although he had been lucky because the suspension was reduced to 6 months and was finished on the 3rd of May. And then he appeals in January and saying, "I never used any coke," and then the guys react and say, "Okay, you're not happy. You get 14 months instead of 6."
It takes you back to the time of Maradona.
Exactly.
when he was coked out of his head in America.
Yes, but so this is a factor. Australia is a very good team, but I don't think they can really play a big role in the. They don't have the bench. I mean, they don't have enough good players, and but then the problem is that if the first round is a bit too easy for France, then they get into the second round, and they might hit a very strong team. And then it's a change of level, a change of planet, and if you're not prepared, if you've been too cool about it, then you have a big surprise in the second round.
And have you looked at who they might meet in the second round?
No, I haven't, because there are so many teams, there are so many cases, there's so many possibilities. I haven't done my homework.
Okay, so would you care to give me a score prediction for each game? So who do you have first? Who's up first for France? What game is up first?
I haven't checked. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I haven't checked this.
So for example, Australia. What would you think the score would be for Australia? The Australian game.
2-0.
Okay.
2-0. Yeah.
And Peru.
3-1.
Okay, and Denmark.
2-1.
Oh, I said that's definite draw. It has a draw written.
I think it's a draw. Yeah, you're right. You're asking me for my prediction, so.
Okay, so
let's go for 2-2.
2-2. Okay. So the squad list, the provisional squad list was out. Is there any players that we should look out for that maybe are under the radar that we don't really know too much about?
You haven't been able to see Benjamin Mendy a lot because he was injured in September. He had a knee operation, but he's a super player. I mean, he's a left defender, and he's really amazing. So if he's back in shape and very fit and not tired because he hasn't played all season, he can be a real factor on the left. And at the front, you have to look at Thauvin, because Thauvin had amazing statistics this year with Marseille. I think it's like 22 goals and 18 assists or something like that. And he's a very good old-style winger. Like he can really make the difference on the right wing and center, and he could be one of the revelations because. He used to be very, very highly rated until he went to Newcastle and had a bad spell at Newcastle. And when he came back at Marseille, Marseille was very low, and so Thauvin really calmed down and became very humble and modest, and he's done a couple of very good seasons. So on the right side of our attacking line. It could be really interesting to see him. The other guys, because Giroud did a good season as well. I mean, especially at Chelsea when Morata was down. So he's not a super player, but he's a reliable center front.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not playing any magic, but he's efficient.
Yeah.
And he can win you a couple of games with crappy goals or very good goals. And then you have Mbappe, of course. But Mbappe, you need to give him balls. He's not going to come back to pick up the ball. So you need someone in the midfield to give him good passes, and then he can work it out.
And is Dembele, his form has totally deserted him. He's
Well, the good thing about Dembele is that he hasn't played a lot this year. so
he's
he's
fresh.
He's fresh. I mean, he was the next, he was the next Mbappe when Barcelona signed him, and until now he hasn't been able to show it because he hasn't played enough, and that's the problem when you go to such a big club and you're still very young. There's a risk that you're not going to play a lot, and this is exactly what happened. Plus a couple of injuries, and he could also be a very good surprise at the World Cup because he's very good.
Yeah, well, sometimes it works like that. Players who have done nothing all season, the 3 or 4 weeks of the summer, if they're free to play their normal game, even though they have those long trips around Russia. I don't know. It might tire them out too. So how's the build up this year for France? In terms of friendlies and?
There is one very interesting game on the 1st of June in Nice, so I'll be there. And I can tell you about it after the game because it's against Italy, and Italy will be playing with Balotelli back in the squad for the first time since 2014 with the new head coach Roberto Mancini, with a few very good players. Not Buffon, because Buffon has given up on the Italian squad, and I think it's going to be a good test because Italy should be at the World Cup. I mean, they really fucked up in November, and they should have been there among the qualified teams. So it's a good test. There is a friendly before this. I don't have the list in front of me. I've had a tough week. But no, there are a couple of other friendlies, but the main one is Italy. The main one is Italy on the 1st of June. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a nice game.
So what's the atmosphere like in France before a World Cup? I mean, are people quietly confident? Are they realistic?
No, there's always a lot of skepticism before any World Cup. I remember covering World Cup 2002 with England and Beckham and everybody at that time, and it was fascinating because they had a very good team. They could have gone much further than they did, and I could see the passion of the English fans for the team before the World Cup. It was very, very exciting. I mean, and in France we always tend to be very critical before it starts, and then the charm operates. Like then it becomes the next big thing in the world, and everybody's watching it. But until it starts, it's like, yeah, well, Deschamps and Pogba, whatever, and I don't think we're in it yet. I think it's going to take another couple of weeks, or maybe 1 week. I think by the 1st of June we'll be ready. By the end of next week we'll be into it. We just started. The players met at Clairefontaine today. Some arrived yesterday, and it's only starting.
Okay. So generally, who do you fancy for the World Cup?
Who do I fancy for the World Cup? That's a good question. I think Brazil has a strong team, and I think they have lots of players that we don't know, and that still play in South America. And I remember going to Porto Alegre to see games a few years ago, and it was fascinating because the level of the players in terms of physical power and technical skills was amazing, and even like a Mr. Nobody in the team was very, very good. So I suspect they have a few players that we don't know at all, and that will be revelations in that team, especially after what happened in the previous years, and they've had a lot of change of players. I mean, there's been quite a change in the players in Brazil, and of course everybody knows Neymar and the other guys in Europe, but it's not enough. You need the other players at the back, etc., to make a difference. And I think that's going to make the difference with other teams. You know, of course, Germany will be very good.
Yeah, well, I think Brazil have a different manager to Dunga now. So that I guess, I mean, Dunga is very defensive minded, I think, as a coach. So the new guy, he'll let them play with a bit more flair this time around. You didn't fancy going to Russia yourself to support Le Bleu?
No, because I'm too busy with other things, and I would have liked to go to Russia, but it was a bit complicated to organize with the job and the family and everything. I'm publishing another book now about Formula One at Circuit Paul Ricard in the south of France. So as the book is like 3 months late, I'm in the middle of the promotion of the book, where I should have started it 3 months ago. So basically, I can't do everything at the same time.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you'll head out if to get to the final, perhaps.
Who knows? Who knows? But I have good friends who are going to cover it in Russia, and they're going to have fun because the stadiums are really nice, and the Russians love their football, and there are so many good teams. I mean, if you look at the Champions League this year, it was amazing. Like we can expect the same sort of trend to be appearing in Russia, with lots of goals, etc., etc.
Do you think so? You think it'll be a successful World Cup then?
Yeah, because I think on the security side, Putin is very up to the task. I don't think lots of troublemakers will make it to Russia. Or if they make it to Russia, they'll be kicked out pretty soon.
Yeah, literally.
So it's not going to be a democracy type of a World Cup. It's going to be a bit tough for the troublemakers, and at the same time, I mean, they're going to drink a lot of beer. Still talk about your favorite topic. And, no, I mean, I think it's going to be an interesting World Cup, and you know, it's the magic of the World Cup. You know, when it starts on your TV, and you see the first games, and the first improbable teams that you have never heard of, or the players that you never heard of, it's fascinating. I mean, it's like a brand new cycle starting with new teams, new players that you don't know, and some of them will go to Europe, to the big clubs after the World Cup, and we don't even know them now. I mean, we have no idea who are going to be the revelations.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Yeah. So as I said, a beer blog. I mean, I got my hands on Kronenberg.
Yeah, it's not the best beer. I mean.
That'll have to do. That'll have to do for my beer World Cup.
It's the most industrial beer we have in France. It's the gigantic Kronenbourg company, but some of their products are quite good, and they've improved a lot in the past few years. What happens now in France is that, just like in many other countries, you have lots of microbrewers who are doing a hell of a job with very good beer and producing very good beer. We have a lot of them in the south of France. We have lots of them in the Alps, and they're doing a good job. There's one in the village where I go in the summer. Nobody knows it. It's called Cordeuil, but it's very good. I don't think you'll find it in Switzerland. And there's another one which is made by Luc Alphand, the former World Cup skier, who used to beat all the Swiss skiers every winter in the big downhills. And with his brother in l'Alpe, I think it's in Serre Chevalier, which is a ski resort, they are making an amazing beer. So we're improving on that side as well. I think we're improving on the beer side a bit quicker than we improve on the football side.
Yeah. Well, for me, actually, France is 15 minutes walk, so it's fine.
Exactly.
But I do like the ciders. I mean, the ciders that you get this side in the French side. and it's much cheaper as well than what you get in Switzerland. So you know.
Yeah, exactly. And again, on the cider side, we are also improving because lots of guys are producing very good cider in the west of France.
Mm. And cider's of course perfect for a nice hot summer's day. So just apart from the World Cup, what about the French football season this year? I mean, PSG ran away with it again. What team were there any other teams that stood out? And
We had a very tough fight between Lyon, Marseille, and Monaco.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, what made the difference was the fact that Monaco had been kicked out of the Champions League early,
Mm-hmm.
that Lyon had been kicked out of the Europa League early,
Mm-hmm.
and that Marseille played 62 games with a rather limited bunch of players.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, they missed the Champions League spot for 1 point. But
wow.
I mean, it was amazing because they had their team was not as good as Lyon or Monaco.
Okay.
It didn't cost as much. It wasn't as good. But they played as a team and they did miracles. They worked miracles in the Europa League.
Okay.
And, so they finished 4th. They're back in the Europa League. But they were in the final against the Atletico Madrid, and they played really good games all over the season. And so that was interesting.
Did that go to the last day of the season, the Champions League?
Yes. It went to the last day of the season.
Okay.
And Lyon survived at the last minute by beating Nice.
Okay.
Thanks to a hat trick by Memphis Depay, the Dutch guy.
Yeah.
He's a very good guy. I mean, a very good player. And he saved their guts, really, because without him, they would have been beaten by Nice, and they would be in the Europa League next year.
I noticed midway through the season, I noticed that Claudio Ranieri was in France.
Yeah, I know. The old sorcerer was in Nantes.
I was wondering, how did he end up in Nantes?
I know, it was strange. But he did a good job, and then it just collapsed.
Yeah, collapsed. Yeah,
it's like he had like 6 months, 6 very good months.
Mm-hmm.
Once the guys started understanding what he was saying in the middle of the fall, and then at the end he lost it because he's such a strange guy. I mean, I really like him. I mean, he's an amazing coach, and having Leicester winning the Premier League was something just surreal. But sometimes the guys lose it and they don't understand what he's talking about anymore. And on the other hand, what was really fascinating is that Gus Poyet, the former Chelsea player, arrived in Bordeaux with a very average team, and Malcolm, the Brazilian striker, and they finished in the Europa League on the last day. So, I mean, it shows how much of a coach can do in an average league. We don't have a very strong league, we have to say. That's why Paris Saint-Germain is winning so easily. So then we have a tough fight for the top 5 spots, and then it's not a very good league. I mean, it's very average. So any coach with vast experience and a great charisma and can make a difference. And this is what happened this year. I mean, Ranieri made a difference for a few months, and Gus Poyet made the difference in the last 3 months.
Yeah, but I mean, like they both coached in England. I mean, in England, it's kind of a cutthroat thing. You might not get enough time to implement your ideas. I mean,
you're right.
Ranieri won the league and he got sacked. And I mean, I've seen Poyet teams, and they do play a lovely passing game. I mean, but if you're like when he was in England, if you're down in the bottom of the league, the fans don't they want the long balls up to the centre forward, and so
that's the good thing about the French league is that as the level is not that great, if you have a coach who manages to teach the guys how to play properly a nice passing game, they can make a difference. That's what happened with Nice last year. They finished third. And we have lots of examples of average teams with an attitude who play good passing football, and this makes a difference at the end with the more traditional kick and run teams or defensive teams. So it works to a certain extent. It works.
Okay, Daniel. Just before we go, so what, in a few words, what would be considered a success then for the French team in Russia?
I think the semi-final would be considered a success.
Yeah.
Tradition in the semi-finals, we generally lose them, but the kind of a nostalgic thing about the semi-final of the World Cup. And
the last time you won it, I guess, was the last time you were in a semis, was it?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, because we lost against Italy. We lost against Italy when Zidane kicked the Italian guy in the head.
Yeah. Of course. That was 2000.
And then we lost the final at the Euro 2016 against Portugal.
Well, yeah, but the World Cup, yeah. So 2006, wasn't it? So
yes.
Yeah. Time flies. So where can people find your stuff online? Do you have a website, or do you have a blog, or?
Not yet. So you can find books. Where you find books. The book I recommend is, if you still find it, is this English football book with the French guys in it. Lots of pictures, lots of statistics, and it's called The French Revolution: 10 Years of English Football After Cantona. And it was published in 2003 by Mainstream Publishing. And the cover is very nice. You have 3 shirts: a blue one, a white one, and red one.
I guess your book probably needs a sequel then, to include Arsene Wenger. Probably. I'll put all the links. I'm sure they're on Amazon.
I'll send you all the links.
Amazon, anyway.
On Amazon, etc. I'll send you all the list of books, etc.
Okay.
And if you have an interest with Formula One, there's a book in French about Circuit Paul Ricard, where the French Grand Prix will take place at the end of June. So I will also send you a link to that book.
Okay. Okay, Daniel, you've given me enough of your time now. Thanks very much. I really appreciate it. Bye.
Bye-bye, Rob. Bye.
Pleasure. Bye-bye.